Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Axel jam si Wave.
Yo, Abla, yo luta do dede. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Bësal mu fine.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bësal mu fine. Wave. Your money is yours.
On Monday, the 1st of September 2025, it's Coffee Time with Peter Gomez on West Coast Radio, 92.1 on FM. Online, you'll find us at www.wcr.gm. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. For the next hour or so, we're going to be talking about the upcoming United Nations General Assembly, but also the 1994 military coup that toppled the country's first democratically elected president and his government. Yes, it's been spoken about for more than 3 decades, but there are still gaps. Someone comes and says this about the military coup led by Yahya Jammeh, and you go out and someone else who was there or claiming to be there says no. That was wrong. So that's why we've brought in a guest this morning, somebody who can authoritatively speak on the 1994 military coup. He was a former commander of the Gambia National Army, a former diplomat representing the Gambia at the United Nations permanent residency, I suppose, in New York. And he's none other than Sheriff Samsudeen Sarr, retired Lieutenant Colonel. Magji ñu ngi la nuyu ci programme bi.
Thank you very much, Peter. I'm glad to be here, and it's an honor and definitely a privilege to be here. And like we agreed, we're going to conduct this interview in Wolof because I have written so much about this event of the coup d'etat and published it first time as coup d'etat by the Gambia National Army in 2007 as the hardcover.
Okay.
You know, published by Ex Libris. You know, I started writing it in 1999, soon after I left the Gambia, and completed in 2006 and was published in 2007. And it covered from 1994 to 2006, you know, and it is as a non-fictional book. You know, I decided to complete the story up to 2025, and that is the purpose of writing the second book.
Yeah. Testimony of a retired Gambian military.
Because up to the time I was publishing coup d'etat, Jammeh was still in power. And if you read even the last chapter, I was giving proposals about what we can do to coach him to leave the Gambia. You know, and, you know, I cited the case of even Charles Taylor.
In Liberia.
Liberia, which I thought was not properly conducted by the Africans because they convinced him to let go the crisis in Liberia for asylum and protection in Nigeria. And you had 4 heads of state who were part of the negotiation, including, of course, Kofi Annan, who was the UN Secretary General at the time. Obasanjo was there, Ghanaian President John Kufuor, and you had also Mozambique President Thabo Mbeki, and they all assured Taylor that if you leave for peace, we will protect you. But in 2006, Obasanjo came to America. I could distinctly remember the day when George Bush gave him this condition that to meet you, you have to ensure that Taylor is arrested. And that broke the whole deal. And I said, you see, betraying that trust would make it practically impossible for future leaders to negotiate with rebels or even despots who will never, yield to such a bargain next time. So, that was the last part of the book. I even recommended that if Jammeh was to step down, then we can even talk about a TRC. TRRC is a recommendation. If you go chapter 20, the last chapter, it is a recommendation there. So, nobody challenged what I said at that time. But then I am talking too much. Let's go back to where we are supposed to start.
All right, yes. We'll start with the UN, the upcoming UN General Assembly, because you've written a very interesting article. You were there, as you say in the piece, for United Nations General Assemblies. A lot of people have just seen the event as a talking shop that comes and goes every year, make commitments that they don't, follow through on. Yes.
Yes.
But you are particular about this 80th one by virtue of chairmanship of the OIC and what we need to do, how we need to amplify our voice, if you like,
yes,
at this global platform.
Yes, and not only the Gambia, but Africa in general, or the whole world. I think all genuine leaders in this world should attend this summit, this General Assembly, the 80th General Assembly this time, because what is going to happen this time is unprecedented in the history of the General Assembly in terms of resolutions that have been honored or dishonored. You see, when I was appointed as Deputy Ambassador to the United Nations, Peter, I was like the quintessential square peg in a round hole. I was taken from a technical workshop, which is, I was in an engineering company in Maryland, in Abington, and appointed Deputy Ambassador. And I was like, what can I do? I don't even know what I am doing. Because when Gaba Bala Jahumpa, who was the liaison officer who called me and said, Jammeh wants to appoint you as permanent representative at the United Nations, I was like, no. In fact, first he said, just come, he wants to talk to you. I said, no, I can't come. I was there 3 months ago in February, and I already used my vacation days this year.
Did Jammeh know that you were here for those 3 months?
Oh, that was February when he went on air to say that all my book, all the stories in my book are false, that I lied throughout my book.
Jammeh said that?
Jammeh said that when I came here during the Independence Celebration 2015. That was in February. They invited me. Manga, Omar Fai told me, hey, you are invited, since you reconciled with Jammeh, it looks like you are scared of coming into the country. And everybody was saying, it is a trap. If he goes there, Jammeh is going to kill him. I said, no, nobody's going to trap me. So I went through all the formalities as an American, applied for visa, came, registered myself at the embassy. And then, the very night that I was supposed to have an interview with Keba Diwa, he called me and said, oh, Jammeh said he has an interview with me. So I never watched the program even. It was after that I was told that he was denouncing me when Keba Diba, told him that I was in the country. So, but I did not see the program. Probably if I had seen the program, I would have left. But I stayed. And that night, he sent me an invitation card to to attend the banquet. And I was treated like the best VIP.
This was Independence banquet.
Yeah, Independence. I was there, and everywhere he told, hey, Sam Sarr. And even the people, they were saying, hey, what's going on, Sam? You know. So perhaps it was the guilt after he made that, because, you know, Jammeh is very impulsive. So when Gaba Jahumpa called me, Bala, and said he wants to appoint me to the United Nations as ambassador, I was like, but I was there. No, first we talked, he said, yeah, ambassador. Then I went and talked to my boss, took another vacation, unpaid, and met him in Janjambure, where before I arrived, he has changed it from an ambassador to deputy ambassador.
Oh.
Yes, because when he talked to me, I thought he was going to say, I'm going to appoint you ambassador, but he said, deputy ambassador. What changed between the time I left America until I don't know. I asked Gaba Jahumpa about 6 months ago, because he invited me. I said, did you know that Jammeh changed my position from ambassador? He said, he never told me anything. I was also shocked. Okay, that said, I thought after the appointment, it would be like, go to the foreign ministry for orientation. But it was not that. It was like, go to PMO, get your
appointment letter, and
go home and start the job. So when I went to the UN, you see, you can see, I mean, the hostility. Because I can understand that Tangara, who was the permanent representative, was not very comfortable with my presence, because he probably knew I was supposed to be his replacement. Something changed within a short time that caused, because Jammeh, they wanted to fire him for me to take his job. So I was there, and when I took over from Yankuba Drame, General Yankuba Drame, he gave me the handing over everything, but he didn't tell me that, hey, during the General Assembly, you are supposed to draft the speech for the president.
Oh.
He didn't tell me that.
Not the ambassador.
Not the ambassador.
It's the deputy ambassador that should draft the speech.
So in August, I was in my office. Tangara just came and said, you are drafting the speech for President Jammeh. He's coming. And I was like, but can you give me, I've never done this. He said, well, it's the job of the DPR, and I'm going for a vacation.
Oh, wow.
Next week, I'm coming. Let me find it on my desk.
That was a baptism of fire.
So I took it, and I was like, lost. But, in this digital age, with Google everywhere, I went online and did a comprehensive research about what UN speeches are all about. And first, I determined that most speeches are limited to the time of 20 minutes to 30 minutes. The only exceptions are that of Fidel Castro in 1960, which was 4 hours, and Gaddafi in 2009, which was 2 hours. So I say, okay, that said, now I know that I may need about 2,700 words to 3,000 words. So I went again and see what is the content. And I saw that speeches are all tailored around 6 topics. First was the topic of national priorities and achievements of the state. The second is about global security and global security and peace. And the third was development and job creation, And the fourth was, I think, multilateralism and UN reforms. And there was the fourth, I think the fifth is like, yes.
The fifth.
The fifth is human rights and democracy. And finally, is regional security and global and regional conflicts in that order. So I say, no, now I can develop this. Every state comes with its own kind of approaching these subjects. You know, the way Gambia talks about its development, its achievements and all that is different from that of Ghana and so on. But what they had in common were the resolutions. African countries in particular would always write this statement. Jawara read it there, Jammeh read it there, and even Barrow is reading it there. That is what they call the Isolwini agreement.
Isolwini agreement.
The Isolwini, in fact, there is a consensus. That's the right term. The Isolwini consensus, or you call it of 2005, or the CERT Declaration of 1999, which is all about African position on the United Nations Security Council reform for Africa to be given 2 permanent seats in the Security Council with veto powers and 5 non-permanent seats. You know, we have now only 3 non-permanent seats. So that is one that African countries all over kept on repeating for the past 30 years. And the second one, the second resolution, is the necessity to lift the embargo on Cuba imposed by the United States, which is commercial and economic, since 1960. That warranted Fidel Castro's 4-hour speech to stop it, but it failed. Now, the whole world has agreed at the United Nations that this should be lifted. The last time I checked was in 2023. 186 countries voted for the resolution to be lifted. Only 2 declined, and those are America, Israel, and with Ukraine abstaining. So those are very important, 2 that the whole world are very particular about. Then the final one, which is the gist of the matter in my piece,
article, yes,
is the Resolution 181 of 1947, which has been called the partition of a state for Palestine in the Middle East, called the 2-state solution. Now this one is like Palestine must have a sovereign state living side by side with Israel, you know, and must be implemented. But, Peter, for the first time in history, Western nations have come because of what is happening in the Gaza, you know, Australia, Canada, UK, and France have agreed that, look.
Even Germany, has Germany not joined them?
Germany is considering with Portugal that from now on, in fact, in this General Assembly, we are going to recognize the Palestinian state that has been elusive throughout history. Now, since they came up with this, I haven't heard any African country or Arab country endorse it or denounce it. They are all quiet about it in a way that I feel, look, if you are to go to the United Nations and draft the same old speeches of let's honor Resolution 181, when these states are honoring it, you will look very silly. What we are going to do, I don't know. You know, Gambia is an African country with the same obligation. Even in the speech I wrote that time, I put it there, the Isolwini resolution. And as OIC, we should stand high.
As OIC chair?
Yeah. OIC chair, we should stand high to say, we are with you. Europe, we are going this way. Although America is not very thrilled about it, likewise Israel, they are probably afraid of the wrath of America if they support it. But in my view, I think that this 80th General Assembly should be attended by all heads of state who have been going repeatedly asking for this resolution to be implemented, because this is the time, and if not now, never again. That's the way I look at it.
So the onus is even, more on President Barrow now, attending in person, not just as a head of state representing the Gambia, but also in his capacity as chair of a 57-member organization.
Yes, and his voice should be heard, and it should sound louder than any representative this year.
If you were to write that speech, what are the kind of things you would include to ensure that his voice is heard?
First, I will in fact go with two speeches, depending on where the pendulum swings. Because there is this tradition at the UN where there is always consultation among the African governments. They call it the AU, I think the AU chamber or something like that. It's a house, where they always meet to decide on what to say and how to go about problems in the UN. So I will first contact my African fellows and convince them as OIC chair that this is where I'm going to stand. And of course, I'm going to support Britain, Australia, Britain, Australia, France, and Canada in their bid to make sure that this is really implemented, and also even contact the Arab nations to give me their contributions on how I'm going to approach this. I will not necessarily make it my own deduction, but I will pick ideas from all these Arab countries and come up with a masterpiece that if I read at the UN, everybody will hear Gambia and what Gambia's contribution is in making this a success.
That's one speech.
Yes.
You said you would go with two speeches. The other one will include what?
Yeah, the other one would be in the event the situation is derailed at the last minute, because America is fighting hard to ensure that this doesn't happen. That is why, instead of denying these countries that are going to implement the resolution visas, they are denying the Palestinians visas so that they will not attend to be part of the whole process. It is very possible that before September 8th, the whole situation will be derailed. Then the second speech would entail a story that will just sound like before. Let's accept and respect Resolution 181. So that's why I will go with two speeches. But I am hoping and praying. I don't think this is going to fail. I believe, the drive, the spirit behind this resolution is going to stand this time. But I will prepare both speeches, in case, something changes.